Hi, I'm Shane with eCharger.com. Today you're going to be taking a look at, I'm going to walk you through the installation on the Roadmaster Diode wiring kit on your 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee. This kit's going to allow you to use your factory taillights so that you can receive light functions from your RV while you're flat towing the vehicle. It's going to make you safer and other drivers know what you're doing, whether you're turning, braking, or driving at night. It's going to be one of 5 main components in a flat tow setup. The other 4 are going to be your base plate, which is going to attach to the chassis of the vehicle to give you a solid connection point or a solid mounting point for your tow bar. Then you're going to have your tow bar, which is going to give you that solid connection point between your base plate and your RV. Your safety cables, which are going to be a secondary safety device in case your tow bar fails. And your braking system, which is going to be required in any vehicle that's being flat towed. It's going to mount inside the vehicle. It's going to allow the vehicle to slow and stop itself, so we're not relying on the RV to slow and stop both vehicles. Now, with our diodes connected, what this is going to do, this is going to allow us to use our factory tail lights while we're driving the vehicle normally and while we're flat towing the vehicle. The diode is actually going to protect our factory wiring from backfeed from the trailer or from the RV, and protect the factory wiring on the RV from backfeed from our vehicle. So when we cut our wire on our factory plug in half, once we connected it to the diode, we completed that circuit back to that plug again. And then our yellow wire, which is running to the front of the vehicle, is what is going to get our signal from our RV back to this light. For those of you at home that may be a little intimidated or may feel like a little unsure about putting this in, let me assure you, you can do it. It's not that hard, and I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do it. We're going to start at the front of the vehicle. It's a lot easier to have your fascia removed when running this. Once you have your fascia removed, you're going to have 2 prongs here from your base plate. Just go ahead and tape your wiring to it. Leave a little bit hanging out so we can attach our plug to it. And we're going to route this 4-pole wire all the way to the back driver's side tail light. You can see I went around here. We want to stay away from anything hot or moving. So I went to the inside of my frame rail here. You can see I zip tied a little bit of extra up top here. That way I can get it to, when I put my braking system in, it may have to tie into it. So I want to make sure I leave a little bit extra. It makes it easy to get to. I went outside of my frame rail because my exhaust runs right here on the inside. I didn't really have an option. I ran right here through this existing wiring, and I really don't like running it out here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some wire loom over this to cover it up, protect it a little bit. Back behind my liner, outside of my frame rail, went underneath this bracket. We're going to have a panel that runs from here back. I ran it all the way through it. You're going to have 2 brackets, one here and one here for your fuel tank. I went over the top. It's going to help hold it up. Then we're going to come to our back axle. I went up over the top of my back axle to here. And then we have our muffler. What I did is there's a heat shield on this inside here. I actually filed this existing wiring because it runs back behind that heat shield over to this back corner. So you can see here, I went over top of my wiring, and this wiring runs right here. So I went over top of it there and then pushed my wire up behind the heat shield to protect it from the heat from my muffler as much as possible. We have another wiring harness here. I went over the top of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our 4-pole wire, we're going to go up to our tail light, which is actually going to pull my wire up away from my muffler even more. Next we need to remove our tail lights. We're going to have some push pin fasteners here. You can use a trim panel tool, flathead screwdriver. It's an open end. We're going to pry the center out. We're going to pull the whole thing out. We're going to do the same thing with this bottom one, and then the same thing to the other side of the vehicle. And we're going to pull our light back. Just like that. And then we're going to disconnect our plugs. Let's start with our top one here. We're going to have red tabs on all of them. Pull the red tab up, push on the black, red tab up, push the black there, and then the red tab here, and then this one is going to be gray, and pull it out like that. Now we're going to do that same thing on the other side. Now to get our 4-pole wire up behind our fascia to our taillight housing, I'm using airline. You can use anything stiff. You have a wire hanger or something like that, drop it down in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end, I'm just going to tape it to whatever we have down there. We're just going to pull it up like that. Then what we need to do is we need to split our wires. Pull our wires apart. Now, stripping them, you can actually strip them before you pull them up. The only ones we're going to need up here is our brown, white, and yellow. Our green one we're actually going to push back down. It's going to go over to the passenger side. So I'm going to feed it back down there. It might make it a little bit easier to do it before you pull them up and just pull up the 3 wires. Now we've gone ahead and separated our other 3 wires. I'm going to start with my white wire. That's going to be my ground. I'm going to cut it down and I'm just going to ground it right here. We're going to strip our wire back. Then we're going to add our ring terminal. Then I'll take the self-tapping screw that comes with my kit and I'm going to ground it right there. We determined that our 2 black plugs, this is going to be our running light, turn signal, and our brake light signals. We stripped the wires back, and then through testing, we determined that our bigger black plug, this is going to be our brake light and turn signal wire, which is going to be our white one, and then our smaller plug with the white gray stripe, this is going to be our running light signal. So now we're going to go ahead and add in our diodes. We'll start with our brake and turn signal. I'm going to split the wire. We're going to strip back. These wires are pretty thin, so I'm going to strip back a little bit extra so I can fold them over like that. Make sure I have a good connection on my diode. I'm going to take 2 the connectors off of one of my diodes. We're going to do the blue ones. We're going to put one on one wire and one on the other. Crimp it down. Same thing here. We'll take our diode. It's going to have a 3rd blue one on it. I want to make sure that the out single side is going towards the plug. Plug it in just like this. Now we're going to take our yellow wire, strip it back, add on the other blue one, and it's going to connect right there. The yellow wire is our brake and turn signal from our 4-pole plug. Just like that. Now we're going to do a running light signal. We'll go ahead and split our wire on our vehicle, strip it back, and we're doing the same thing here that we did with the other one. We're going to take the diode, it's going to have the yellow connector. We're going to take the 2 blue ones and we're connecting those to our factory wire. Single end out goes towards the plug. And this is where this one's different. We're going to take our brown wire, we're going to cut it to size, except we're going to take these 2 ends, strip them, and put them together, and that's where our yellow butt connector comes in, or a spade connector. We'll get them twisted together. We'll add on our yellow one. Put it down like that. And we're going to add it on here. We're going to take the rest of our brown wire. We're going to go back down. That's going to be our jumper wire for our running light signal. That's going to be on the passenger side. Take this, we're going to feed it over to the passenger side with our green wire. So now we have to find somewhere to stick these inside of this area because they need to be in behind our light. I'm going to try to stick them right down here on this flat part because we're going to have plenty of space between here and this back. Go ahead and push your tabs back in. Make sure they're locked into place. On the back of each diode, you're going to have some 2-sided sticky tape. Go ahead and stick one like this. And the other one, you're going to stick it right on top. make sure it's going to fit. Now to run my green and brown wire over to my passenger side. Again, stay away from your exhaust. I run it behind these brackets, my bumper fascia. Once I got over here to the passenger side, I determined that my brown wire was not going to be long enough to go all the way up to the passenger tail light. They give you an extra butt connector in your kit. You can just use maybe some of your white wire that you cut off from your ground wire to extend it up, which is what I did. The butt connector that comes in the kit, I would suggest exchanging it for a heat shrink butt connector because that wire is outside of the vehicle. And it's really going to help protect that connection there from corroding. And then here on my passenger side, again, our small plug was going to our running light signal. We did the same thing. This is my extension wire coming from my brown wire. Difference from passenger drivers, we have one single wire in instead of two. Again, connecting my wires into my diode that recompletes that circuit. And then my green wire for my brake and turn signal going to my larger plug. Same thing here. All right, you can go ahead and attach these to our tail light and reinstall our tail light. Now back here at the front of the vehicle, our wires, this kit's going to come with a 6-pole plug that's going to mount on the front. Because we have the fascia off, we're not going to fully install this. What we're going to do is we're going to strip back the wires and we're going to use this to test our wiring, to test our lights, to make sure everything's working correctly. Then once we determine that, we can remove this. Once we put our fascia back on, we can put this back in there. On the back of our plug, it's actually going to be marked. LT for left turn, RT for right turn. TM is going to be running light signal. GD is going to be ground. You're going to have 2 extra pins for any additional things you may want to add on, like your charge line if you need one. So we're going to start with our right turn signal, which is going to be our green wire. Go ahead and insert it in there. Going to make sure that the screw is going into the wiring, not into the plastic. You want to make sure you have good contact. Another thing is these screws are very little, so we don't need to take them out all the way. You can use a flathead or a Phillips screwdriver. I recommend a flathead because the Phillips usually tends to strip these out because they're so small. After our right turn, we're going to do our left turn. Then we'll do our ground. And then our brown, which is our running light. Like that. Now we're going to test out our wiring using an alternate power source. This is going to simulate being hooked up to your RV. Running lights, left turn, brake lights, right turn. Once you've tested your lights, you can go ahead and remove your plug. It's a good idea while you have your fascia off. Add a braking system if you're going to add it then, so you can run any wiring you may need to the front. Then reinstall your fascia. You're just going to reinstall it in reverse order from the way you took it off. Again, I'm Shane with eTrailer.com. I hope this video has helped you, whether you're still deciding or installing the diode wiring kit on your 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee.